Hey there guys, welcome back to another episode of Monster Super League. It's your boy Odin, and today we're here to do the final and last Apophis guide, which is of course going to be the water one. I've been kind of holding out to do this one here for a little while because I wanted to see if I could finish building up some wood Sariels to Evo 3, and I did finish up 2 of them this past week, so I figured I would go ahead and do the guide here now. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So right off the bat, guys, the water Apophis has a couple of different things that kind of are going to make your life pretty miserable. For one, he does zap, which means that he is going to be slowly but constantly be taking away at your HP, your health. And then the second thing that he does that's pretty destructive is the seal of all recovery effects. So when he does I guess, recovery seal you, your heals are essentially going to be useless. So there's really 2 ways that you can tackle this. Either you bring in a shield that is big enough to absorb the zap and essentially absorb the damage when he does the curse or the recovery seal, or you bring in somebody with immunity. So that is the latter of the 2 is essentially what I've chosen to do here, and that essentially is being taken up by the water Scheherazade and the light Midsummer Miho. I did pull 3 of her, so I'm gonna go ahead and basically use her. I don't necessarily think that you guys need to have 3 light Midsummer Mihos. You could also use the Fire Okeanos, but if you use somebody like the Fire Okeanos, just know that you're gonna need to build her pretty tanky, and SP generation is obviously gonna be an issue. But for now at least, just know that, when the Midsummer Miho comes back, maybe you should pick up 1 or 2 more of the light ones, if you didn't get to pick one up during last June. Essentially, she will be coming back on her rerun probably in another 4 or 5 more months, so make sure that you guys are starting to save your Primo Gems for the Midsummer Miho. All of her typing are very, very good in Apophis, so I highly recommend you guys to start thinking about what you need for the Apophis in general. So again, immunity is what I'm using to kind of take care of that recovery seal, and also, give myself a little bit of a break when it comes to building shielders, because shield, it can be, as the Apophis gets into higher levels, he can basically crush your shield, which essentially leaves you with that debuff still on. So I might be working on building a third what's her name, Sariel, but for now, for my first sword, we're going to use the same method with the Beth on a siphon set. This Beth here is not like super well built, although I will say that it has decent gems. Here is the attack gem, here's the crit damage gem, and here is another attack gem. I decided to use the Dark Midsummer Miho as my leader here, to basically boost a little bit of the attack on the Beth, and hopefully that will avoid me having to use somebody like the Light Cupid to recover my SP for the Beth. And I'm kind of relying on the fact that Beth will need to crit here, but yeah, you guys can kind of build your Beth accordingly. Attack crit rate if you're a new player or a mid-game player. If you can't afford a siphon set, crit damage is ruined gem set is just as good. And yeah, so for the placement here, I am still using the water Cura as my exposed weakness, although you could use somebody else like the fire, what's her name, Acer as well. There's a bunch of different other leaders that you could use, even the not the fire, what's her name? Jesus, I'm completely blanking out here, guys. Sorry. Not the Acer, but there is another wood exposed weakness. So let me go ahead and actually take a peek here. This one here, Jesus, I can't remember her name. Riveness. You could use the Riveness essentially as a good, exposed weakness on the left-hand side. Or if you can build her properly, you can actually use her on the second side with a costume at Evo 2. So there's different ways to build out for this. But all right, I've kind of already wasted enough time, so I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. And I'm going to show you guys essentially what you can, expect to see out of these teams here. And yeah, guys, let me know how you're doing with your team setups and your team builds. My Apophis is pretty much almost complete. I'm able to consistently get to level 500 or so a week, which is enough for me to get, a decent amount of gems back from the clan battles that we, basically complete every single week. which means that I get a higher return in Astro Gems. So essentially that is the main goal here with the Apophis, guys. You know, not only just to get the bragging rights for saying, oh yeah, I'm doing such good damage, but also because you are being rewarded a ton of gems back every time that you do participate in the Apophis. So you know, time to start thinking, you know, for the long run, if you are going to do the, or going to be looking at playing Monster Super League for the long run, you're going to want to invest a little bit into Apophis to make sure that you guys have a constant flow of Astro Gems. So, but you guys can kind of see how this setup here works. We got the attack down, exposed weakness, we got the weaken, the resistance down, and so far we're on turn 5, level 15, so it's a pretty efficient setup. The Dark Midsummer Miho did get the recovery seal, as you guys kind of can see there, which kind of, you know, as you guys will see, essentially it does take down pretty quick at your health. But I did line up a backup with the immunity shielder there, so there is the Light Midsummer Miho dropping in. And I made it this way because I knew that the Dark Midsummer Miho had at least a couple of turns before she would die, and that by the time that she would essentially die, then I could take advantage of the immunity here on the later stages of Apophis. So, you know, in the first couple of turns, it's not as important to have, you know, recovery seal, because you're really trying to just maximize your damage. But as you get a little bit later on into the you know, levels there, you do want immunity. So just like this, I will essentially clear my buffs or debuffs there on the right hand side, and now I'm ready to deal a little bit more damage. So so far this is working out to kind of what I planned out. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already kind of figured this out as well. I would like my Beth actually to die here in the next like 2 or 3 turns, so that I could get a little bit of damage in with the what's her name, the water, oh Jesus, Glinda. You could essentially use any other lethal striker, but you know, you really, once you get to past level like 25, you do want a lethal striker to kind of kick in there. The last thing that I will say about this water Apophis is that he does also do full buff break on you, so something like immunity can actually be dispelled, and I'm sure some of you guys kind of already saw that happen on the left hand side. But that is essentially the last thing that makes this boss really annoying. So essentially, one, you know, she's stopping, or the Dark Apophis is stopping you from healing. He is also sealing you from you know, shields and things like that with the buff break. And at the same time, he is essentially just taking away your health. So for me, this is a decent run, although last week I made it to level 56 with my first sword. So, you know, some weeks are going to be good, some weeks are not going to be so good. So just take it with a grain of salt. You know, it's all RNG based, but any little bit of changes here and there can definitely help your lineup. And as you guys can see, I've made it to level 28 with relatively good ease. I mean, granted, you know, I have heavily invested here on some of these mons, so I have a good setup, but I think that the majority of you guys would be able to build a comparable team to this. And remember that you don't just have to use Evo 3 mons, you can also use Evo 2 mons, and you can also use Nat 3s and Nat 4s. So all right, so I'm at 88 soul stones for my dark one, so I'm very close to finishing up the Dark Zeus. And I do have enough gleams and copies to get him to Evo 3 right away, so I will be doing a showcase on the Dark Zeus as soon as I get him. Alright, so similar setup here to the first group. On the second attack, I'm going to use the Wood Sariel with the Dark Midsummer Miho on the right, and then we have the Hana for the attack down and the defense up, and then the Venus with the attack down and attack up. I am kind of stacking here, and the Dark Midsummer Miho's attack up is being wasted. But having that extra second set of heals on the right actually does make a pretty big difference. So I think I'm actually going to swap the Dark Venus for the Light Midsummer Miho, just because I feel like it's going to give me immunity a little bit quicker, and it does kind of come in very handy in the you know, at this point in the game here. So let me go ahead and actually change this last setup here to make sure that we are getting that very much needed immunity buff, and then we'll go ahead and drop the Dark Venus in place of the Dark Midsummer Miho, and she's actually not a variant, she's a normal. Yeah, that would ensure that my second team here actually has immunity right away. And let's go ahead and actually do that same thing here for this last team. Let's go back to the pick up the second light Midsummer Miho, and I think she's right here. Yes, okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and save that, and I'll also use that opportunity to put in one more, what's her name, Water Glinda, who is not a variant, she is normal, and we'll stack her there. And I think I'm going to use this one here for the third sword. All right, so let's give this a try, and we'll see how far we can get this week. I am also using the light Okeanos and the dark Okeanos on the right. Although it's okay to say that you could stack them, you know, the dark and the light together in the same group, I don't necessarily think that it's something that you want to do. I feel like for them, you really just want them in the back to kind of give you that debuff later on, you know, once you get to like levels 10 and 12, 10 through 15 on Apophis. And in the beginning stages, you really just want somebody to kind of, you know, quickly get your buffs up. So, you know, having the light Midsummer Miho, like I said, is really good here on the second group. All right, so this second group, I will have immunity on the right here, which actually does leave me in a pretty good place to get attack up on the next turn, and that will last me hopefully one more turn before the full buff break kicks in, or my Dark Midsummer Miho somehow is able to resist the full buff break here. So, all right, so that will give me one attack, and then this next turn, if you know I'm very unlucky, he's actually going to remove my attack up buff. All right, we'll see if I'm able to resist or not. All right, looks like I was not able to resist, so all of my attack up, as you guys saw, was completely removed by that full buff break. But the advantage of having Wood Sariel now on the Water Apophis is pretty big in my opinion. She was a very much needed lethal striker for the Water Apophis, because, you know, before this you really were relying either on the double Wuchi or a light Wuchi or a fire Wuchi or the Water Okeanos for your lethal striker damage, which was just not good enough. So I'm glad that they added a double wood lethal striker. So, all right, and just like last time, it looks like I did not have enough SP for the attack up, which is a shame, because that means that the minute that I get that buff up, it might be completely removed. But that's all right. I'll take the immunity from the right hand side anyway. I feel like that might be the best case scenario here. Looks like I forgot to turn off my notifications, but that's okay for now. Alright, so we are actually doing pretty good for this level here. But looks like there goes my immunity, so now I will heavily have to rely on RNG to keep me alive here for the next 7 turns. But I think this should be a pretty good push in damage for this week, for me at least. Yeah, hopefully you guys find something that is comparable to this setup. I know not a lot of you guys are gonna have the, you know, light Midsummer Miho, or even a dark Midsummer Miho for that matter, or even a Wood Sariel. But at the very minimum, you guys should be able to build that first sword with similar mons and be able to crank out a little bit of damage, kind of like how I did here with this one. And as you guys see, also the dark the wood Midsummer Miho really is good here too. So, you know, again guys, this is still just January of this year. My recommendation for a lot of you guys is to start saving your gems for when the Midsummer Miho does return, because you know, at this point we don't even know if she's going to be a guaranteed light or dark, just like last year. You know, for last year was an unlimited set of summons that you could do, and you could pull a light and a dark essentially 2 or 3 times. That's how I ended up with 3 lights and 3 darks. So pray to RNG Jesus that Smart Study does still allow that for next or this coming year as well. Because the worst thing that can happen is they release her and they only make it so that you could only get 1 copy of each during that during that month. So unfortunate, but it can happen. All right, so let's go ahead and fix up my lineup here. Looks like I'll have to use her. Let's actually switch these two up. And let's see if I can find one more lethal striker. I do have the light Zariel as well, but I have not built her yet. You know, with the amount of mons that you need here, it's actually pretty ridiculous. You need so many sets that, you know, even I don't even have all the sets necessary to build every single mon here. So let's go ahead and use the Fire Wuchi as my other damage there. I feel like this should give me at least a little bit of a boost. Let's go ahead and save that setup. All right, and let's see if we can give this a try. I do have another Wood Zariel that I could get to Evo 2, but I think I might wait and see if I really need her, because really you only need 2. If you build a third one, you may use her just as a backup lane on the first sword. But I don't think that I personally have the gems to build another third one right now. I could use the world boss points to buy the super holy or the super gleams to get another one to Evo 3. But I feel like, you know, she's a regular pool of Nat 5, so you might end up pulling one of her, you know, in the next couple of weeks. So unfortunately, I did not do the right thing here on this setup. I thought I'd put the Light Midsummer Miho on the back instead of the Venus, but looks like I did not. So I'm not really sure what happened there, whether it was like me physically making that mistake, or the game didn't save my setup from the last turn, because I mean, I'm also recording, so my mind is a little bit all over the place. But I thought I had put the Light Midsummer Miho on the back on the bottom right. So this might be a bad juju move here. So good thing is that you have 3 turns to build up your SP to get that immunity. So hopefully I'll have one more chance to get the immunity out this next turn. And here it is, thank God, because I was really gonna start to struggle there if I didn't get the immunity up with this app. So alright, so I really need the Hana to get the SP bar up this next turn, because of course not. Look at that tiny little bit left. This is brutal. Thank God for immunity, but I do need to get that defense up like ASAP this turn, otherwise I'm dead here. So, and of course now my health is too filled up, so the Hana is not going to give me that defense up heal. So this is a shame. I'm going to have to hope that I have enough defense to survive that. Oh, thank God. Alright, so now I should be able to get the defense up with the Hana. And somehow managed to recover from a pretty bad situation there. Looks like I did already lose my immunity again. I only made it to turn 13, so definitely room for improvement for next week. I should be able to make it to at least level 100 underwater Apophis next week. Also too, I hope my RNG is better for my first sword. If my first sword is better, I could definitely get higher next week, because really the biggest damage push comes from your first sword. If your first sword goes really well, and you get your attack down and your defense down, and you get your attack up, and your Beth is doing her job, more than likely you're actually going to have a pretty good run, just because of you know, the Beth really taking advantage of that siphon set and just bursting out with the Predator skill. So looks like this was essentially just a bad luck on this third run. I really should have had a better run on this last turn here. But it is what it is. I'll keep that in mind for the next week. At least you guys get to see kind of how this last guide will work. And hopefully you guys find this guide useful. So with that said, guys, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you are new. Or if you found this guide useful, of course, let me know in the comment section down below. Or if you guys, you know, have a better team composition or a different setup that works better for you, you know, I'm open to hearing you out, because you know, Apophis really is a work in progress by a lot of folks. and I myself don't have the perfect setup for this just yet. So yeah, so without ranting too long, guys, it is nice to see you all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your holidays. There's definitely going to be some new content coming into the channel. And with that said, guys, I'll catch you all on the next video. Take it easy.